Ein Mann von Welt ist heute zu Gast. Toronto, Montreal, Paris, Berlin, Köln, alle diese Orte nennt er sein Zuhause. Back mit einem brandneuen Album und viel Gesprächsstoff. Herzlich willkommen, Chili Gonzales.
Mein Freude hier sein, Dankeschön.
Schön, dass du hier bist. Wir freuen uns extrem. Erstmal natürlich Gratulation, dass du dein neues Album fertig gemacht hast. Gonzo kommt im September, richtig?
Genau, ja, 13. September.
13. September. Ich muss sagen, wir werden wahrscheinlich innerhalb des Gespräches zwischen Deutsch und Englisch hin und her switchen.
Ich mache mein Bestes mit Deutsch. Das ist ihre Sprache und ich versuche, dass die sprechen.
Ja, finde ich super. Wie lange lebst du jetzt schon in Deutschland?
In Köln seit 2012, aber der Geburtsort von Chili Gonzales, das Künstler, das Musical Genius, Entertainer, der Geburtsort ist hier in Berlin.
Berlin, ja?
Ich war umgezogen in Berlin in 98, lange Zeit jetzt.
Ja.
Und in 2004, ich habe in Paris gegangen. Aber ich habe immer vermisst Deutschland. In Europa Deutschland ist mein Lieblingsland.
Wow.
Und Paris ist ein bisschen, es ist eine höfliche Stadt.
Ja.
Es ist ein bisschen immer ein Auftritt.
Ja.
Es ist interessant, faszinierend, aber ermüdend. Und vielleicht, wenn ich meine 40er Jahre gereicht, ich habe mir gesagt, ich brauche eine Wahlheimat, wo life easy ist.
Ja.
So, ich kann ein Künstler bin. Ich brauche nicht mehr in die Zentrum von alles die Aktion sein. Und so, ich kann mit viel Reisen immer in Paris, Berlin, London etc. haben diese Aktionsfühlung, aber für meine Wahlheimat, ich brauche etwas Chill. Und so Köln seit 2012 ist meine Wahlstadt und so Deutschland insgesamt 18 Jahre gewohnt.
Wow. Ich liebe Köln. Ich habe ja auch in Köln gelebt. Ich muss sagen, ich liebe die Menschen in Köln. Das stimmt, die sind sehr, sehr, sehr entspannt, sehr gechillt. Aber da wir ja jetzt in Berlin sind, erzähl mal, wie fühlt sich Berlin gerade für dich an, insbesondere so im Vergleich zu 1998, 2000, 2002, die Zeit, wo auch Chili Gonzales hier geboren ist. Es war ja ein anderes Berlin als heute. Wie fühlt sich das für dich an, hier zu sein?
Ja, in 98, was war attraktiv für uns, weil ich war nicht allein. Mein Kumpel Peaches, eine sehr großartige Sängerin, Rapperin, Produzentin, Entertainer auch von Kanada. Wir haben Berlin entdeckt zusammen. Und was war so attraktiv, war diese Anti-Erfolges-Underground, diese Clubs nur zweimal pro Monat ohne Name, mit einer Passwort für, you had to like have a password to get into the club.
Wow.
Anti-kommerziell, Anti-Kommerz, Kunst, Underground, provokativ, so inspiring für uns. Und das war sehr wichtig, weil mein Probleme in Kanada, ich war vielleicht ein bisschen zu viel Vorsicht, immer ein bisschen Strategie, immer ein bisschen, can I really be myself?
Ja.
Und ich hatte ein bisschen zu viel Kenntnis über Musikindustrie, so alles war ein bisschen, I needed to loosen up. Und Peaches hat mir geholfen, weil Peaches hat diese Attitude von everything.
Yeah.
Aber Berlin hat mir sehr geholfen für diese Probleme auch.
Du hast gerade diese Berlin-Attitüde von damals angesprochen und dieses Punkrockige. Trotzdem, als dein Sound sich entwickelt hat damals, der Chili Gonzales Sound, war auch immer irgendwie viel Rap dann dabei. Und auch auf diesem Album ist viel Rap-Einfluss drin. Wie erklärst du dir das? Wo kam Rap irgendwie in dein Leben rein und warum hat es dann auch, like, how did it find such a big place in your own music then?
Ja, ich finde, ich habe entdeckt Rap in die 90er Jahre, das Golden Age, aber vielleicht besonders in Kanada es ist Nordamerika. So, wir haben diese amerikanische Fernsehkultur, Popkultur. Und ich habe Jazz und klassische Musik studiert.
Ja.
Ich bin ein Produkt von dieser europäischen Elitist Musikschule. Aber wenn ich habe Musik studiert, ich war immer ein bisschen, mein Lieblingskomponist war immer diese Leute, die ein bisschen Revolution gemacht hat. In die Zeit von Mozart, Beethoven war ein bisschen ein Punk. Ja. Und es ist immer eine Frage von Zeit, dass die Eliten eine Revolution akzeptieren. Ja. So, ich finde mit Popmusik und mit elektronischer Musik und in Rapmusik, es gibt immer diese Fühlung, dass erstes Mal diese Musik ist nicht akzeptiert und muss immer diese Kampf machen und überzeugen, dass Welt, dass diese Musik ist wichtig und dass diese Musik ist das Zukunft. Ja. Und in meiner Generation, diese Energie hat nur echt von Rap gekommen. So I recognized early, dass Rap war die neue Punkrock, war die neue Beethoven, war die neue Jazz. Ja. Und das ist nur eine Frage von Zeit, dass Rap eine Takeover machen. Und jetzt, ich glaube, in diese letzten 20 Jahre, wir können sagen, ja, Rap hat eine Takeover gemacht. Ja. Und das ist eine gute Nachricht. I see Rappers. Und Rappers war experimental, Avantgarde, Punk, provokativ, aber auch mit viel Erfolg, auch gute Businessman. Das ist so inspiring to see music that understood that Kunst und Kommerz zusammen, das ist das Stärkste, das ist das Ziel. Ja. Und so, ich habe mir gesagt, okay, ich mach, was ich mache. Ich bin erstes Mal Klavierspieler und Komponist, aber ich kann ein bisschen von dieser Rap-Attitude ein bisschen to get inspired für meine Karriere. Und das Zaubertrick, das Rap hat gemacht, musikalisches, ist, dass it's closer to speaking.
Oh ja, okay.
It's the illusion of speaking, weil Rap ist sehr musikalisch und sehr melodisches. Ja. Nicht nur Autotune melodischer Rapper, aber auch Jadakiss oder Rappers, die nicht sängermäßig sein, sind auch sehr, sehr strategisch und hat einen gut sängerisch Instinkt. You know, even the rapper who sounds like he's not singing is still making a lot of very sophisticated musical decisions. Yeah. But there's the illusion of speaking, which brings it closer to reality, which is what makes it modern and irresistible.
Du hast gerade Jadakiss genannt. Was waren das für Künstler in den 90ern, die dich als erstes so inspiriert haben? Also Rap-Künstler. Jadakiss war jetzt einer, den du genannt hast, der natürlich für viele Top 10 Dead or Alive ist so. Aber was waren das für Rap-Artists, die dich...
Busta Rhymes war sehr wichtig, weil es hat diese Jazzmusiker Virtuosität. Das war sehr attraktiv als Gateway-Drug von Jazz und klassischer Musik kommen.
Ja, vor allen Dingen am Anfang, was Busta ganz am Anfang seiner Karriere gemacht hat, war ja noch richtig jazzy, soulful so.
Ja, ODB auch für Punk-Rock Energy. Aber erstes Jahre von die 2000er Jahre war sehr wichtig auch mit Diplomats. Ja. Mein Lieblingsrapper ist Joel Santana.
Wow.
So traurig, dass Joel Santana nicht so aktiv seit sehr lange jetzt.
Voll.
Aber Joel Santana is, he's my living God. I come from a very middle class background where the idea of musical education was very important. Ich hatte mein Opa war ein ungarisches Mann, mein erster Pianolehrer.
Ja.
Aber parallel, ich habe MTV geguckt in Kanada als Junge und mein Opa, es war sehr wichtig in meinem Leben, aber war ein komplizierter und ein bisschen peinlicher Mann, weil er war ein bisschen Euro-Supremacist, if I can say that.
Yes.
Er hat mir gesagt, es wird keine schwarze Mozart. Und so, ich war da, okay, Bach, Beethoven, Brahms, ja, warum nicht? Ich verstehe. Aber parallel, ich habe MTV geguckt und hat Prince gesehen auf meinem Fernsehschau. Ja. Und ich habe mir gesagt, aber das ist schwarze Mozart. So, what the f is this guy saying?
Yeah. There's, grateful enough to be able to listen to your album already. Ihr habt mir einen Link geschickt. Und da gibt es auf einem Song diese Zeile, wo du sagst, I did 10 years of psychotherapy. So take me a little bit through this journey of the last 10 years. What did this psychotherapy consist of? Oder was hast du gemacht, das sich so für dich wie Psychotherapie angefühlt hat?
Ja, meine Mittellebenskrise war genau punktlich. Ja. Wie eine Schweizer Zug. Ja. Right on time. 40er Jahre. Ich hatte eine persönliche Krise. Nicht wichtig, diese Krise, was war das? Aber ich habe mir gesagt, ich brauche Hilfe. Und bis 2012, das war der Anfang von dieser Psychanalyse, das war eine Psychanalyse, so eine echte Sigmund Freudisches Deep Dive. Und was komisch ist, dass ich habe immer Worte geschrieben von 2000 bis 2012. Alle meine Alben hat viel Lieder mit Lyrics. Ja. Aber von ersten Tagen in diesem Psychanalysebüro hatte ich keinen Bock zum Lyrics schreiben. Ich bin ein passives Künstler. Ich warte auf Inspiration. Ja. So, wenn ich nur auf Piano, alles gut. Ich kann nicht, I can't force myself to write lyrics or to write piano music. Ich muss warten, dass ernst sein und authentisch und so. Ich bin ein bisschen passiv. So, erste 2-3 Jahre von dieser Psychoanalyse habe ich bemerkt, ich schreibe keine mehr Lyrics. Okay, wir warten, wir sehen. Und bis 2022 keine Wort. Wow. Und dann Ende 2021 meine Psychoanalyse war endlich vorbei. Ich fühle mich besser. Es ist keine echte Kur, weil das Ziel von Psychoanalyse für mich war nicht glücklich und 100%ig gut sein, aber nur sich akzeptieren und leben in Harmonie mit Realität vielleicht. Ein bisschen die Unterschied von Phantasmus und Realität definieren. Aber 1 Woche, 2 Wochen vor diesem Schluss von Psychotherapie, die Worte hat zurückgekommen. Ja. Und ich habe ein ganzes Album auf Französisch geschrieben, die heißt French Kiss, eine französische Rap-Album. Aber ich habe auch diese Gonzo-Album auf Englisch. Und auch ein Lied auf Deutsch, eine Rap-Lied, die heißt ICE. Das ist schon raus. Ja. So, in 3 Sprachen habe ich Notebook after Notebook gefüllt mit Worten. So, was ich kann analysieren, ist, dass wenn man im Büro von Psychotherapeuten steht, das Ziel ist, Emotionen fühlen und auch to put words to the emotions. Ja. Das war diese Sigmund Freud's greatest invention, was that putting words on the emotions make them real and make them visible. Und was komisch ist für diese 12 Jahre zwischen 2000 und 2012, wenn ich habe Lyrics geschrieben und ich habe Lyrics mit viel Self-Loathing, Provocation, things that make me look like a monster, actually.
Yeah.
Aber wenn ich habe diese Lyrics geschrieben in diese
Phase,
diese Emotionen, I didn't feel them. The words would come out, but I didn't feel them on the way out. Ich habe nur gesagt, ja, das ist ein gut Line für Chili Gonzales zu sagen, you know?
Yeah.
And it's strange to look at the lyrics because they're so dark and tortured, but I didn't realize it. Besser als nichts.
Yeah.
Das heißt Sublimation, das kommt raus.
Ja.
Aber es ist viel, viel mehr gesund, wenn man schreiben diese Dark Lyrics, aber man kann diese Emotionen fühlen, wenn sie rauskommt. So now, I still write lyrics that still have some of the self-loathing or the darkness or the provocation, but I feel it on the way out. And when I put it on the page, I have a kind of tenderness for myself. I know I sound very new age here, but I think you can feel it on the album now.
Yeah.
That when I say, zum Beispiel, die erste Punchline von dieser Album, in die Lied Gonzo ist, the first time that I entertained was the first time that I felt sane. Es ist ein bisschen traurig, dass ein Mann kann nur gute fühlen und gemütlich fühlen in einer Konzerthaus mit 2000 Leuten. Es ist ein bisschen traurig.
Yeah.
But now when I write that, I feel it. And that's what therapy, I think, gave me. And that's what it gives some people. Psychotherapie ist nicht für alle. Man muss entscheiden, dass Hilfe ist nötig. Und vielleicht andere Leute können einen Ayahuasca-Trip machen oder vielleicht braucht nicht oder findet, dass das Leben ist besser mit weniger Kenntnis über sich.
Yeah.
But for me, it really made my life much more bearable. Als Mensch, als Künstler. And so if you feel like you need help, find it somewhere. You know, I found it with the therapist's office. Other people will find it somewhere else.
In what language did you do it?
Ich habe das auf Englisch gemacht. Ich glaube, man muss in Muttersprache.
Yeah.
Und when I say Muttersprache, es ist ein Wortwitz auch.
But
because when you go to therapy, you talk about your mother a lot.
Yeah,
so you
sure.
need to speak in your Muttersprache just to explain the joke to people.
So, warum glaubst du, war dann das erste Mal, wo es aus dir dann doch rausgesprudelt ist und du angefangen hast zu schreiben, warum war das Französisch?
Vielleicht hat ein bisschen Distanz gebraucht für diese für this going back into writing lyrics. Französisch und auch eine Lied, das ist die letzte Lied in the Gonzo Album, heißt Poem. Und das ist eine Rap-Song, aber es ist ein Rap-Song nur mit Bilder, mit mentale Bilder. Und ich sage nicht das Wort ich in diese Poem. Das war auch vielleicht I need a little bit of distance from going back into the me, which is, of course, what most rap is about.
Yeah.
It's about yourself and proclaiming who you are, proclaiming your fantasy and proclaiming your reality. So vielleicht schreiben auf Französisch und schreiben ein paar Lieder ohne ich war nötig. Aber dann 3-4 Lieder später, ich könnte Lyrics schreiben, ein bisschen wie meine alte Lyrics-Persona, aber mit dieser extra Tenderness für mein Selbst. Und mit Worte, keine verstecken. You have to stand by it. And when you say Richard Wagner, the words they get people's attention.
Yeah, they hold weight.
And you have to defend it, and you have to understand that you're provoking people with something very specific.
Yeah.
Whereas if I say, dun, 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 brr, that's an instrumental way of saying fuck Wagner, but it hits different.
It does. So when you talk, let's talk about Richard Wagner, because you have this song, Fuck Wagner, on the album. Was it even the first single? It was one of the first singles.
Ja, in März, Fuck Wagner. Ich habe das in einer Bombe-Auftritt bei Jan Böhmermann, ZDF Neo Magazin gemacht, ja.
Ja, also was man natürlich dazu wissen muss, in fast jeder großen Stadt in Deutschland gibt es eine Richard Wagner Straße, einen Richard Wagner Platz, hier in Berlin ganz prominent. Und da du ja in Köln lebst, hast du begleitend zu dem Song, der von Wagners Antisemitismus handelt und neben seinen...
Ja, aber das ist nicht eine Frage von Antisemitismus. I mean, Wagner ist just das erste Beispiel von mein Leben, wo ich habe diese Frage gestellt. Was machen wir mit Monsters, die großartige Kunst macht?
Yeah.
But it could be anyone. It could be Michel Houellebecq, who's a great French Schriftsteller, but is like a terrible Islamophobe.
Yeah.
The song could also be Houellebecq. It could be Kanye West. It could be R. Kelly for being a pedophile. Yeah. So das ist immer eine Frage, und ja, diese Frage von Wagner und Antisemitismus existiert, weil, wenn ich 16 Jahre alt war, mein Vater hat mir eingeladen in Bayreuth zum Wagner-Opera sehen, und ich finde das großartig. Wagners Musik ist großartig. Ich bin noch immer ein Fan.
Welche Oper war das?
Aber die Ring, das ist 4 Oper in einer Serie, die heißt Die Ring von der Nibelung. Mhm. Und ich habe meinen Vater gefragt, mein Vater ist ein jüdisches Mann. Ich habe gesagt, wie kannst du Fan von Wagner, ein großer Antisemit war?
Also das war später, wo du ihn gefragt hast?
Ja, vielleicht ein paar Wochen später, weil ich habe ein bisschen Forschung über Wagner gemacht, weil ich Fan von seiner Musik war. Und mein Vater hat gesagt, weil ich kann das Kunst und Künstler trennen. Und so, ich hatte das immer in meinem Kopf. So, in some ways, ich habe dieses Lied geschrieben für 35 Jahre. Yeah. Auch das in Köln, es gibt eine Richard Wagner Straße, sehr in der Nähe von Rathnauerplatz, wo ich lebe. Yeah. So, ich bin immer unterwegs zum Fuß in Richard Wagner Straße. Yeah. Aber auch wenn Kanye West hat mehr und mehr Antisemitismus auch und alle Cancel Culture in unserer Kultur. Und so, ich wollte ein Lied, das versucht, diese Frage stellen and try to work through this question. Because also when I say Wagner, I'm obviously someone who's very imperfect. I'm imperfect because I don't have the perfect opinions.
Yeah, none of us do.
None of us do. I sometimes disappoint myself, like by eating meat. I don't like to eat meat. I know that it's wrong, but sometimes I do it. Yeah. I love Kanye West's music. Yeah. And so when I listen to Kanye, sometimes I also feel tortured. And so by the end of the song, I say, we're all trolls, we're all triggered, and the truth hurts, we are all Richard. So das ist keine echte cancel culture Lied. I'm against cancel culture. I think if we want to tear down anyone who ever did anything wrong, then there's no one left.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah. Wagner is an extreme example, maybe. Maybe R. Kelly is an extreme example, but we all have a little bit of a monster inside us.
It's interesting because it's such a touchy subject, separating art from the artist, and it's also such a tiring topic to talk about or to argue about with people that don't want to separate it or they want to cancel it or whatever. And in the text that you put out, by the way, you started a petition, that's what I was trying to say, to rename Richard Wagner Straße in Cologne to Tina Turner Straße.
Tina Turner Straße, baby, let's do it.
Yeah, I'm all for it because also Richard Wagner Straße in Cologne is like the place to be, one of the places to be with lots of cafes and stuff happening at evenings. And what a lot of people don't know, Tina Turner used to live in Cologne.
Ja, sie war eine Waldkönnerin.
Just like you.
Sehr beliebt und gestorben in 2023. So I think the timing is perfect. And I understand people say you can't erase history, but you can also talk about the future.
Yeah.
And what do we want this street to be? You know, I understand what it used to be, but maybe there's a moment, and I understand the arguments, but maybe there's a moment to say, okay, Wagner, all good, but if you call the street Tina Turner Straße, see,
so
look
good.
at this.
It's so good.
Look at your smile.
Yeah.
And when I started to test out this idea, die Leute lachen und das ist it creates positives Energie to imagine that you could be walking on Tina Turner Straße, you know?
It's amazing, and it's so much more fitting to what the street is now and what happens on that street. And also, I didn't really do the research, but in the same text you say Richard Wagner doesn't really have anything to do with Cologne. So why was the street named after him in the first place?
Because it was die Oper in Köln war, wo steht jetzt Rudolfplatz und diese Straße kreuzt Rudolfplatz und so, das ist ein Komponistviertel. So, es gibt ein Händelstraße, Mozartstraße, Beethovenstraße und Wagner in dieser Zeit war eine Gott die Musik. Das war in 1882, ich glaube, die erste Richard Wagner Straße Benennung. So,
wow.
You know, but it's a long time ago and today, Wagner.
Yeah, stuff.
Don't Wagner's music.
Yeah.
If you like Wagner's music like me, keep on listening, bump that.
Yeah.
But Wagner the man. Und Wagner war nicht ein typisches Antisemit von dieser Zeit. Er hat ein Buch geschrieben, das Judentum in der Musik. So he was a real promoter of hatred. He's not just your, you know, die Leute sagen, es war eine andere Zeit, wir können nicht Richter sein für die moralisches Wahl von 150 Jahren in Vergangenheit.
Yeah.
I understand those arguments, but Wagner was like an active promoter. He wrote a book. I mean, imagine in 150 years that anyone who was eating meat is considered a horrible person. It's possible.
Yeah, maybe,
right?
Rightfully so, maybe.
And I would be one of those people who was falling short
same.
of this moral imperative, but I didn't write a book about eating meat.
Right.
I'm not the editor-in-chief of Beef Magazine, which is a real thing.
I know.
So maybe the editor-in-chief of Beef Magazine, he's more like Richard Wagner because he's... I wonder who this guy is.
Good motive.
Or this woman is. And that puts you in a different category, you know?
Yeah.
If you're just a product of your time and falling short, then guess what? You're just another imperfect person like 5 billion other people on the planet or whatever it is now.
Yeah. I think that was an important part in the text that you gave out where you said, I am not asking to stop the performance of Wagner's music. I'm just asking to not name streets after the person.
That's right.
He was. And that is, I think, a very distinct difference between what people consider cancel culture. Because, as you said, you know, I love Kanye's music as well. I grew up with Michael Jackson's music, R. Kelly's music. So what do we do about all these people's music?
Yeah.
You know?
Ja, das ist nicht eine intellektuelle Entscheidung und von einem Tag bis die nächste, du kannst sagen, okay, ich habe keine mehr Beziehung. Wir haben emotionelle Beziehungen mit diese Kunstwerke.
Yeah.
People grew up maybe listening to an R. Kelly album, and it's like the soundtrack of their life from when they fell in love with their wife or something. And you really expect them to just say, turn a switch and never hear R. Kelly again? I mean, some people can do it, but when you really love something, it's not that easy.
Yeah, you have that in a song where you sing, it's hard to boycott something that you love, it's easy when you hate it.
Ja, und auch wenn ich eine Lied, die heißt Wagner, weil diese Lied in Aktualität ist eine nuancierte, it's a multiple, you know, I really put myself into question, because I even say in the song, when I say Richard Wagner, it's cheap and it's easy. I'm a clown in the media circus on TV, like right here. I knew what I was doing by calling the song Wagner.
Yeah.
It's a way of basically using the clickbait philosophy to get people to hopefully listen to the whole song and hear a discussion that is like a little more complex than just saying Wagner, because it is too easy to say Wagner. That's an emotional feeling when I walk on the street there. I really think it every time I walk on Richard Wagner Straße and walk home. I'm like, Wagner, this guy, how is his name still on this goddamn street, you know? But that's just the beginning. And then you have to dig deeper and say, well, why? Why am I in a position to suddenly say in the public Wagner and maybe get some people, half the people going, yeah, him, and half of the other people saying, no, you can't erase history. You're just being a woke asshole or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, that is not the answer either, to choose the most extremes. You know, the right answer is to try to find the common humanity. I mean, it seems very basic, and what it means is admitting from the baseline that, again, we are all Richard. And it's a painful truth, but I would say everyone I know, the thousands of people that I've met in my life, I guess everybody has done something that could be considered bad, something that they're not proud of. And why can't we start with that as a basis for having this discussion?
Yeah. It also helps to give a new perspective. So the Tina Turner suggestion helps the cause a lot, I think, than just saying, hey, I don't want it to be Richard Wagner anymore.
To just say Wagner was not going to be something that was tenable for me. I had the idea. I wrote Wagner in the notebook, and I thought, oh my God, am I really going to do this now?
Yeah.
But once I finished writing the song and I ended with what I think is a positive humanistic statement, we are all Richard.
We're all Richard. Yeah.
And then once I had the idea that Tina Turner could be the new street name, I thought, okay, even though it's called Wagner, it's provocative.
Yeah.
It's trolling. I knew what I was doing, but in the end, the net result is positive energy. To have 15,000 signatures on my petition, and Stadt Köln, who are going to take up the matter in September, because I did like an official Bürgeranfrage thing. I did the official bureaucratic work to try to get this actually done politically. And so we'll see, you know.
You mentioned someone on the song that I want to bring up because it's kind of like a largely communicated part of your career, also, you know, outside of what you usually do. It's Drake. You mentioned Hotline Bling on the Wagner song. Obviously, Canadian national treasure kind of Drake, right? First of all, before we talk about how you two came in contact and how you got to work together, what's your view on Drake, like this year, especially after all the ups and downs that he had and this tumultuous time and beef that he was a part of?
A minor.
That's all that stuck from that beef, right?
You know, I mean, he made a lot of very strategic errors this year.
Yeah.
I remember...
atypically so. Because
I mean,
it was
at the end of last year, he announced that he was taking time off because he was having stomach problems.
Yeah.
And I was like, good for you.
Yeah.
You know, maybe after everything you've been doing, you just take those sick. And then he announces a new tour. And then he decides to go in on Kendrick Lamar, who, you know, maybe looked like an easy victim to him in the moment, but boy, did he miscalculate. So, you know, it was entertaining. And it doesn't change the accomplishments of, you know, he changed pop music via rap. And therefore, in some ways, changed rap as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he really changed pop music, and he did put Canada on the map. Canada was kind of a joke country.
Yeah, especially in hip-hop.
Yeah. I mean, Toronto was not a place that looked like it could ever have, you know, an NBA A-list rapper.
Yeah.
And he really, he continues to represent for Toronto. He didn't just move to LA and pretend that he was an American now. He really, he's like riding for Toronto. And I think that's, people there really appreciate him for that.
Yeah.
Musically, it's a joy to work with him. I was in the studio with him multiple times. And I think I really learned a lot about how music in general is made by observing him. And, you know, it's so crazy to just think to 6 months ago, how his image has really changed for anyone who's like paying attention.
It shows you just how quick pop culture can move and twist and turn on you as well. I think it's funny how you say it's such a joy to work with him in the studio. I heard this story once about Max Martin, who's a very like structured producer and has his like pop structures that evidently have been working over the last decades. And apparently he's very angry when he listens to Drake's music because Drake doesn't follow the structure. And when he listens to Drake's music on the radio, it's like, it f***ed my brain up because he's not following any of the rules that I found for myself and or my, you know, successful recipe over the last few decades, and he's just throwing them around, and it's still very successful popular music. That's what makes Drake so interesting.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying he changed pop music via rap, because, you know, to watch him working in the studio, so I'll be at the piano, maybe there's a beat playing, and he's just kind of, you know, looking for a melody or looking for some sort of hook, and then he'll find something, he'll record it, and already I'm like, whoa, that's a super dope chorus, you know? And then he's like, let's keep looking. And then he looks again, and then he finds something that's even less specific, more universal, more like a hymn, more like an anthem.
Yeah.
And then he records that. And all of a sudden, what you thought was already a dope hook becomes like a verse.
That is mind-blowing.
But then he keeps looking. And this happens 3 or 4 times. And each time the thing he finds is more anthemic and less specific. And then what you thought was the chorus becomes a bridge. And then when he finally finds the real chorus, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, I saw this happen with like Marvin's Room. I saw this happen with From Time, because I was there
I know.
when they were made, you know? And so I see him kind of come up with these different hooks and these different flows and then these different melodies. And each time you have to just recalculate the whole song because, oh, that's not the chorus anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe what Max, it's just a succession of hooks that become more and more universal, more and more like something an entire stadium of fans can sing along with.
Yeah.
And that's not generally how people who are coming from the non-rap pop music world, who really see the interaction of verses and bridges and choruses in a much more linear way. Whereas Drake seems to be working from this more rap perspective, which is to say each unit could stand alone as an anthem, but then he just stacks them.
It's funny because that's such an like bar for bar punchline type of approach. You know, and just because you brought up Jadakiss probably writes his verses like every single bar has to be able to stand out and be, you know, a punchline for itself. And then you stack all these punchlines and it becomes this great all-time verse. And Drake does the same thing, but with melodies and with hooks, and stacks all of those in the song.
Exactly. It's like he took the way of writing a rap verse and applied it to sort of the genetically perfect pop song. And but it is surprising to listen to some of Drake's, you know, sometimes the songs that he would put out in the 2010s that were just like just like weird, loose songs, not on any album.
Yeah.
And they would become these massive hits.
Trust issues. Stuff like that.
You know, because he's working in this way. And I think it's very inspiring for those of us coming from a more traditional musical background to see how much life he's breathing into pop music via these methods that were mostly, you know, sequestered off in the rap world. So that time between, you know, 2009 and let's say this year, I guess we can really look at it like a very Drake dominant era.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm proud to have my little part in it.
Yeah.
Mostly as a spectator, and then just occasionally being in the studio and having something to contribute. But, you know, my Drake story starts because he took a solo piano piece called The Tourist.
The Tourist, yeah.
And he put it on the So Far Gone mixtape.
Which was his, like, major breakthrough.
Yeah, but he didn't just sample it and make a song out of it. He took the whole 3-minute song. He didn't rap or sing on it.
Yeah.
My entire song, 3 minutes of me playing the piano, is on So Far Gone, uncredited, uncleared. So, of course, part of me was like, what?
Yeah.
There's even people who thought it was Drake playing the piano, you know, because they don't know.
Yeah, sure. And it was early on in his career. You didn't really know what his skill set is, right?
Exactly. And then I heard that he was at one of my concerts. And then finally we managed to meet. And at least I was smart enough, because I already was such a big rap fan. I thought, okay, I'm not gonna get mad about this. I'm gonna look at this more like an opportunity to get into the studio with him, and that's how it went down, luckily. And then in 2019, he decided to re-release So Far Gone on the streaming services, which means he had to clear everything. So he had to call up everybody and there was a lot of stolen beats and stolen pieces, but most of all, this 3-minute piece of mine. And we were negotiating how the clearing can happen. I said, look, I don't need or want your money.
Yeah.
But I want real credit.
I want my name on it.
So my piece is called The Tourist.
Yeah.
But his version is called Outro.
Right.
Bracket featuring Chili Gonzales. So I might be the only person to feature on my own song.
Absolutely.
I'm very proud of the fact that he stole my music with no credit. Like, I want to be clear, you know, I look at it like an opportunity. Many other people would have said, oh, come on, get your lawyer, just, you know, but why take an antagonistic approach to someone who I think is a really important artist and then turned out to be one of the most important artists of the whole game,
You play piano on the From Time record with Jhené Aiko too, right?
Yeah.
Such a beautiful piece. Do you think him not being a classical singer, or I think he never considered himself as a singer, right? At one point early in his career, he even admitted, like, I'm not good at singing, I'm trying to get better. It was like when he was around the weekend still and trying to pick up some pieces from his singing. Do you think that fact helped him to find these universally understandable melodies just because he wasn't able to go, you know, high up or down low with his voice and just try to be as simple as possible?
Yeah, because up until that point, there was a real dividing line. Rappers were guys who talk grimy, and R&B singers were like virtuosos and more like boy men, you know, the kind of Usher model and this like strict R&B lover boy type personas. You know, it was like a real separation, and maybe one of the first people to kind of, in my mind, sort of recognize that there's something to be done. There was the Ja Rule and 50 Cent.
Absolutely.
Where they would be like, I'm going to put in a little extra hook, you know. There's like, in every 50 Cent hit, there's like a little sing-songy bit. Ja Rule, of course, was, you know, singing as someone who was not a traditionally good singer. And I think Drake saw that and just was able to envision taking that to this, you know, and then there was 808 and Heartbreaks happening around the same time, auto-tune. It was just a perfect storm for someone to say, I can see the logical endpoint of this rapper becoming a singer mode, and now we're just living in the hangover of this discovery, right? I mean,
it's Drake's world.
Now a rapper who only talks grimy and never sings is almost the exception, you know?
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh, Freddie Gibbs, he's like, and even him, once in a while, he's even starting to sing a little bit. So, you know, I think you can't avoid it anymore.
Very, very true.
I mean, I am really, really against this 90s idea that commercialism is bad. This is something I had to fight against in the indie rock world of Canada of the time. This really made me. And luckily, rap took over. So I'm very hopeful for the next generation of musicians. You know, the young rappers that I hang out with are very, very solid in their approach to this art and commerce fusion, whereas before in the 90s, people saw it as something separate and that commerce was going to somehow put the art in danger.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God those days are over.
Absolutely. Chili, thank you so much.
Thank you
for coming here. Thank you so much for this amazing conversation, even though we totally drifted off into the English world, I hope. Yeah, sorry. I feel like we hopefully didn't lose too many German speakers as we got English, but after about a half an hour, I get very exhausted, and to keep it interesting, I have to speak English by the end. Thank you so much for being here. Gonzo is out in September, so everybody go check it out. Thanks. Thank you.